Yay.
Hey, we are live. All right, let me make sure that the video is going on.
Yay.
All right, perfect.
Hey, we are live.
There it
Yep. Heard the repeat there.
is. The slight delay you always get.
Right, exactly.
And also having to hear your own voice.
I know, isn't that weird?
I'm not the biggest fan of my voice. It's one of the worst parts about editing and having a channel in general. And I'm really grateful that you can, when I watch back videos to make sure they're good before posting them, I'm so glad that you can speed them up because I'm like, I don't want to have to listen to myself for any longer than I have to.
I get that. I like your voice. It's all good.
Hello.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to CHAS and Friends. This is episode number 16, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I am privileged to have Danielle, Elliot from Elliot Brooks on the channel. And we are just going to have our normal chat about really anything and everything. But most of you are probably familiar with Elliot's channel. So I'm just so excited to have her on board. And I'll let her tell us a little bit about herself, anything new you want to share, whatever, and then we'll just chat.
Hello, everybody. I'm Elle from the channel Elliot Brooks, and my real name is Danielle, as if you didn't know that, now you know. But I primarily talk about fantasy books, but occasionally something else related to fantasy, sometimes shows, adaptations, manga, things like that. So I'm really excited to chat with all of you.
Awesome.
And I've written a book. I feel like I don't ever mention that.
Yep. She did write a book, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. We've got Ariel on the chat with us. Hello. And Theo from Rekindled Reader. Hey, glad to have you. Kay from Kay's Hidden Shelf. RC's got I like that. I am here. All right, awesome. So we probably got some of your followers on here too, I'm guessing.
I like that in the game profile picture. It's cool.
Yeah, that is cool, isn't it? Yeah. Theo's on point. His channel's definitely got a lot going forward in terms of aesthetic and the way he designs everything. So it's good. And she does have some of the best shelves in the game. Yeah, absolutely. Superstar guest.
I actually just moved the shelves. So you know how they used to be in the front room?
Yeah.
I moved them to the middle room because I got tired of having my filming stuff just out all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So like, I'll put it in the middle room. That way I don't have to constantly put it away and bring it out and put it away. But the only problem is this wall can't have all four of them. So now one of the shelves is just in the screened-in room, and I had to try to redo all my books and everything. So the setup looks the same, but there's a shelf missing now.
Okay.
It's not exciting to anyone.
Hey, it's kind of cool to hear like the struggles of getting the setting right and everything from different booktubers, how they handle it. So I find it interesting. Yeah, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually because I film on my phone. I have a phone that I use for filming. And I'm like, I know this is a quality camera, but I feel like the quality does not look good. So this last week I was messing around a lot with the settings and looking things up online and then adjusting like the height of the lights and all that. And I actually think it's improved a lot, but I just can't justify spending a lot of money on a camera only to have, because I feel like a lot of times I hear people talk about, oh, I recorded for this long and then the memory card died and I didn't know it, or the audio isn't there. And I just know I would get so angry if I spent a long time filming only to have none of it be usable. I don't know. Plus, I'm not good with technology. I'm at heart a very old lady. So the idea of a new thing in technology, I get comfortable with what I have already.
I get that. Yeah, I'm kind of that way too. I don't own a fancy camera or anything. I just use my phone, and unless I unless I become full-time on YouTube or something, I might upgrade to a camera. But until then, it's like,
right.
yeah.
And for a hobby, and I would say a lot of people, that's very nice. A lot of people, it is a hobby and it's just something they do for fun. And I would say, even though, of course, it's nice to have a good quality in your videos, I think a lot of people who come to watch book reviews, they care more about what you're saying and the sense of community and geeking out over how exciting and intense a book was. They care, I think, more about that than how pretty it looks.
Right.
I think some channels, you almost have to have really good video quality for people that do like hair or makeup or things like that, where it's clear that you're trying to make it very visual and show people something, a tutorial type. But otherwise, with book stuff, I just don't really think it's 100% necessary.
Right. I'm the same way. Exactly. There's Jake from the Bookish Drummer. Hello. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ariel just moved because she's trying to find a good place to film. Yeah.
Yeah, I had
that's good to have.
There was one day I was recording and the audio was completely not usable. And I have a microphone and I was like, I was trying to figure out if it was the phone or the microphone. I was like, I think it's the microphone. So I got a new microphone. I was like, I hope it's the microphone, because if not, I just spent a decent amount of money for nothing. I was really nervous it was the cord, because I have a little cord at the end of my microphone that makes it so that I can plug it into my phone.
Yeah.
And they were completely sold out at every Best Buy of that cord portion. And I was like, please don't be that. Please be the microphone. Otherwise, I won't be able to film anything for a while. And it was the microphone. Thank goodness. So that's easy to come by.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Mics are a lot easier and cheaper to replace than the phone is.
Yeah, and those little adapters, it's so frustrating because it's like chargers. Every time you get a new computer or a new phone, you're like, why does this need a different charger than this other thing? Right. And you're having to deal with all that. Somebody needs to make a universal, like what are those like screwdrivers that you can pop it and then turn it the other way and twist it and stuff? Somebody needs to do that with charger adapter type things. And when you go to other countries, the outlets aren't even the same. So then you have to get something new for that too.
Right, exactly. There needs to be a worldwide universal standard. But in
the UK, didn't they just make something? I don't know if anybody here is in the UK, but didn't they just pass something where you have to have a certain kind of charger, or they're getting rid of a certain kind or something? If nobody knows what I'm talking about, then this sounds like nothing.
Okay. I hadn't heard that, but maybe so. It would make sense. Yeah. Make things a lot easier. Yeah, Jake films on his phone as well. It is a lot simpler. Hello, Bart. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, man. That would be so frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
The autofocus. That's frustrating, too, when you see somebody who's recorded a video and it goes out of focus or focuses on something else.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel so bad. Cameras aren't smart enough. They're so close.
Yeah.
I know Alan's channel, his camera looks great. And his when he does sprints or when he joins in for collaborations, that camera also looks great, his webcam.
Yeah.
Michael Nip too has a really good webcam camera. So I'm always a little jealous of theirs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, they've I mean, I'm sure the more money you spend, hopefully you get a much better product, but yeah.
It's just, but then I've seen people that are like, this is the camera I use, and you look it up and it's $1,000. And you're like, okay, for a little bit better quality, I don't need it. I'm all right.
Yeah. I follow Think Media on YouTube, and they're always posting videos about the best vlogging cameras, and some of them I look up and they're like $3,000. I'm like, whoa, yeah, I'm not spending that kind of money.
I know. It's so much. And then you think about all the books,
Right. Yeah.
You could get that really fancy edition of the Night Circus. How much was it again?
It was $300. Well, so the most expensive one was $3,000.
That's right. That's the one I was. Yeah. Have you gotten that one yet? the other one, not the $3,000 one, but did you get yours yet?
Not yet. It comes out in November is when it starts
okay.
shipping, I think. Yeah.
So that'll
And
be
of
a
course,
gift for the
I'm still
holiday.
waiting on the sand. Oh, White Sand. I'm still waiting on my special edition of White Sand as well. So, but they should be coming in pretty soon, I'm sure. So
That'll be fun.
supposedly end of October for that one.
I just got the first of the new Witcher hardbacks in.
Oh.
The ones that are going to match the illustrated edition. So I just got the first one and it looks really good. I'm really excited for. There's a pre-order sale from Barnes and Noble where you could get pre-orders 25% off. And I was just like,
yeah, I saw that.
Witcher. So I could get all those hardbacks.
I should do that for Dune Messiah and Children of Dune because they've got those new deluxe editions coming out to match the original Dune one. So I should do that. Do they still have that sale going on?
I can look it up. Really, you know what? I'll look it up on my computer.
Oh, there you go.
They come back. They come in and out, and those don't come out for a bit. Let me see. I don't see the 25% off right now, but they've done it. I think 2 other times at least this year. So hopefully they'll do it again before those come out. Because I thought about getting them because they are beautiful editions. It's kind of a classic of sci-fi, but I didn't love the first Dune, and Sean enjoyed it, but he's trying to cut back on getting books because it's difficult when we're both big readers. We have so many books in the house. So he was like, let's not get that one. But yeah, those are beautiful.
Yeah, they really are. So it looks like there was some moves for standardization. So
I didn't make it up.
Yep. Nope. You sure didn't. I got the same camera as Alan and Michael, and still, yeah. I'm sure it's hard. You have to do a lot of tweaking and spend a lot of time, I'm sure, to get the perfect setting.
That's what I tried to look up with the camera on my particular iPhone that I have. I looked up my exact iPhone and then the recommended settings because, I think the average person thinks 4K, 60 frames or whatever, because that's like the highest. But they were saying that our eyes have gotten so accustomed with movies and everything to 24 frames. And I didn't know. So it actually ends up apparently for most people looking more cinematic to set it to 24 as opposed to 30 or 60.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't know that. So just that kind of stuff that you wouldn't expect. And the fact that it depends, I think, on the camera too, the settings, right? It's not a universal, this is going to work for this.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Everything's a little bit different. Glad to have you, Jenny. Thank you. Your first CHAS Live. And Dune is absolutely awesome. My favorite sci-fi book of all time. So, yeah.
What did you think of the movie?
Oh, I loved it. I still have a special place in my heart for the original. What's his name? I can't remember the director's name now. David Lynch. Yeah, I still have a special place in my heart for his version of Dune, even though it's hardly accurate at all. But it's still one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. So, but the new movie is fantastic. I already knew I was a huge fan of Denis Villeneuve from Blade Runner 2049. That was an absolutely gorgeous film. So I knew he was going to knock it out.
Is it Arrival that he did as well?
Yeah, that one I still have not seen. I need to see that.
Most people love it. Sean loves it. It's respected across the board from, I would say, the average movie viewer to the critics. I couldn't stand that movie, but I'm picky when it comes to movies, though, so I don't think it's the movie's fault. It's definitely an unpopular opinion. I think you would like it a lot. I think you and Sean have some overlap in some of the things that you like, so I think that you would, and it does have that same cinematic feel that Dune had, of course, because that director has a certain eye.
Yeah, of course. The original Dune movie is very campy for sure. It does have the block screens, Okay, Kayla, have a good day. Thank you. Okay, yeah, yeah. I'm picky about movies too. It just depends. But yeah, we each have our own different tastes, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I try to never be uh, dismissive of any particular genre or any particular style or anything like that, because different things for different people, different forms of art are gonna, as cheesy as it sounds, they're gonna speak to different people. So it's all valuable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we were talking about setup, but this is actually some of you who have been on my live streams before, you'll notice that this is a new setup for me. So that I had Elliot come on a few minutes early and make sure that my audio sounded good because I'm filming in my YouTube area today. So
It sounds good and it looks good.
yeah.
Background is cool.
Yeah. So I'm pleased with how it's turning out so far.
I think it looks good. I know my brother-in-law really liked that movie.
Mad Max, yeah. I've never seen any of the Mad Max movies, not even the originals. I just I like post-apocalyptic stuff, but I don't know. It's great.
I've heard really good things. That's
Oh,
good.
well, thank you. Thank you. So I do want to say I'm a huge fan of your book as well. We mentioned it briefly at the beginning, but if you guys have not read Peace and Turmoil by Elliot Brooks, you are definitely missing out. I did do a review for it if you want to check out the review. But yeah, I really enjoyed your book.
Thank you.
And yeah, I was very, very impressed for a debut novel.
Thank
That
you.
especially, yeah. So and I know you're kind of at the beginning of working on book 2, right?
Yeah, I'd actually had a lot of the second book done when the first one came out, and this was in 2019, and it always kind of alarms me how fast time has passed since then. But
Oh, no.
I'd had a lot of it done, but then obviously 2020 was this whirlwind, and I always say I don't try to claim that I have more trauma from 2020 than other people, but I did have a very difficult year that year with everything that happened with my dad passing away and being ill before he passed away. So I really didn't have any time to work on it. I hardly even posted on my channel. That was my full-time job, was taking care of him. And then afterwards, definitely needed to recover from that, the emotional side of things and grieving and whatnot. And I would say this year I have gotten to a point where I'm feeling a lot better emotionally. I do feel like I have kind of gone through the process of grieving. So I feel a lot better. And so I am kind of getting back into it. But because of that long pause where I really wasn't consistently writing for so long, there is that sort of initial getting the momentum going that is hard. And also there's a lot that I wanted to change. So it almost feels like starting over. And I feel so bad about that. But it's one of those, like, I have to try to be nice to myself because writing isn't my job. And as much as I would love to just sit down and do that full time every day, I'm like, I also have to work. So I know I would like to not be somebody that takes years and years and years between books, but I'm also like, I mean, I also don't think that what happened in 2020 is normal. That's something that happens, that sort of situation, that's rare in a person's life. So I was trying to be nice to myself and giving myself time to sort of get back on my feet. So long story short, I have started to get back into book 2, but it has been a lot of reworking things. As far as, yes, I definitely really want to have audiobooks for them. Very much. The concern I have is just because it's epic fantasy and there's a lot of characters that I would like to find a narrator who is very good at being able to do different voices, just to really bring to life like all the different places that characters are from and the different inflections in their voice, to bring that to life. And so I want to make sure that when I have an audiobook done, that it's a very good professional narrator, which I know they're out there, but I'll definitely have to save money to have them do the narration. And then also I'll try to be very nitpicky about how it's all done in a way that hopefully is fun for the narrator, not really frustrating.
That makes perfect sense. Who would your dream narrator be?
So, oh my goodness. I really liked, there were some, I mean, I'm not going to say Stephen Pacey. I know he's the greatest. I'll just say Stephen Pacey is amazing, but I'm not going to try to get Stephen Pacey to narrate my audiobook. But I actually really liked some of the narrators for Engines of Empire. There were, I think, 5 different narrators for that. And a lot of them were fantastic. It was a full cast, basically. And so they were amazing. And I actually love the narrator for Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. That narrator is so good, and he has such depth to his voice. I am a sucker for the people that have that kind of deep, very full voice. I really want that because I just think it brings it to life so well. So I don't know. And then there's I'm spacing on his name, but he's oh my goodness, the Strange the Dreamer narrator, who I'm spacing on his name. It's a pretty normal name too. Like, it's not something difficult to remember, and I'm forgetting his name, but he's great too. Adam something, I think. That's not right. I'm forgetting, but he's wonderful too.
Okay, that's cool. I've heard a lot of good things about Travis Baldree. He does, of course, he wrote that new book, Legends and Lattes. And he narrates the Cradle series, so I've heard he's good.
Wow.
I haven't heard him yet, but I've heard he's really good, and I can highly recommend Jonathan Keeble from he does Bernard Cornwell's books, but I don't know how hard he is to.
Steve West, thank you.
Oh, Steve West, okay.
I think in my head I thought Adam West, and that's why I'm like, that's not right. I know that's not right. But it's Steve West. Thank you. I knew it was a very easy name too. I'm sorry, the narrators you were mentioning.
Oh yeah, no problem. Jonathan Keeble and Travis Baldree were the ones that came to my mind. And of course Michael Kramer and Kate Redding are awesome, but I don't know how easy it is to get them.
They're also very, I think at this point, I don't know if it's just I'm so accustomed to hearing them do Sanderson's books that I associate them with Sanderson's books, and I'm so familiar with their voices and everything that it's kind of hard for me to separate them from Cosmere or them. I mean, even Rhythmatist, which isn't Cosmere, but is a Sanderson book. It's hard to have in my mind. Like, I just don't think my book is for their voice, if that makes, or I should say, their voices I just find in my mind are so attached to Cosmere. And then obviously I know Wheel of Time as well. Yeah, but they're both fantastic too.
Definitely. Well, cool. You've got a lot of fans here. Ariel's a mood reader. I am too for the most part, but I made your book a priority because I knew we were going to be. We've been talking about doing this in September for months now. So I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to finish the book before I have her on the stream.
I think too, if because the book looks very chunky, but there's so many extras, I call them, in the book that the book isn't quite as long as maybe it seems.
Yes.
So if anybody sees the size and they're like, oh my gosh, it will go faster than it might first appear.
That's very true. I really enjoyed that. And a lot of your chapters are short too. So that helps kind of break it up too, because it's easier to accomplish short chapters for people who get distracted easily, like me.
Yeah, I used to be very self-conscious about the fact that a lot of the chapters were shorter. So when I had it, because I had it professionally edited a few times, and one of the things was cutting down basically the fluff. I mean, anybody that's ever had something professionally edited, the amount that you feel like an idiot because you just see red mark after red mark, and that's normal. If anybody's ever had that done or wants to have that done, that's their job, is to look for every possible thing that they can help improve on in your book. And so the chapters used to be, not that they were ever really long, but they used to be longer. And there was just a lot that, because it's already a long book, that the editor was like, you don't need this part. And also allowing readers to sort of figure things out through what is said and then what's not said sometimes too. Like, you don't want to put everything there. And I'm glad for that, because I think I am that kind of a reader also, that when you give me too many details, I start to not care. Yes, it does end on a cliffhanger. It is definitely a first book. Yes. The entire first book, in my mind, feels kind of like a very big prologue. And if anybody is nice enough to give it a try, I think book 2 is where there's going to start to be payoff. Because with book 1, I know, I'm a new author and sort of untested and whatnot. And it's epic fantasy, which is not usually recommended to start with, because you have to set a foundation first in first books. But the second one there's going to be newer things revealed, but then also you're going to start to get, I hope, almost like satisfying moments that were in book 1 mentioned or presented, and then you'll start to get more there. It's the downside of like, how much do I give the readers now, and then how much do I hold on to?
Absolutely.
Because you want them to know, but you're like, no, I can't.
Yeah, that's always the struggle with a series. Absolutely.
Black Sun did have a very intense cliffhanger. Okay.
Yeah, good to know. Well, and your cliffhanger, even though it was a cliffhanger, it wasn't a frustrating cliffhanger, like, oh, now I have to wait and see. Even though I want to see what happens, it was more like it was more of an enticing cliffhanger. It's like, okay, I can't wait for book 2 type of thing. So
that's good. It doesn't stop in the middle of a scene. It's not one of those.
Exactly. It doesn't. Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, I guess that's where we're leaving things off with.
Right.
The setup in a sense is a lot of different countries are currently experiencing peacetime. So our main characters have not really lived through everything that their parents and grandparents and things like that have experienced, all the different wars and whatnot. But you can it's kind of like, instead of starting with some kind of antagonistic force or being, they really don't have that. And then it's like watching things sort of fall apart and who's going to come back out of it. So you actually start with things almost like you imagine the happily ever after at the end of a series. It's like, what if we start there and then watch everything fall apart after that, is the feel, I think.
Right.
So a lot of things not working out, basically.
I totally get that. Yes, we do like chunky books, Chadia. We like big books. That's great. So a cliffhanger, yeah. A cliffhanger. Who knew Elle was mean to read? Oh.
Yeah, it's definitely not one of those first books where you're like, it could be a standalone. It's definitely not even close.
Yeah.
And I know it, and that's why I feel so bad about taking so much time in between. But I just really want to make sure. I think readers can be kind of forgiving or patient with first books, but in a series, if that second book is not delivering, then I think it's completely fair to jump ship at any point if you're not enjoying the books you're reading. But I think with book 2 in a series, you really need to deliver, and also deliver on some of the promises you've sort of been putting in the first book. One of the things I'm the most excited about is I think currently the magic seems almost simple, and there's a lot of really fun things about the magic that I have hints at, but they're really tiny hints, and so being able to build on that in later installments, I'm really excited for.
Very cool. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to, and I won't go into any spoilers really for anybody who hasn't read the book, so no worries. But I'm really excited to see more about how certain characters control the fiends. Yeah, I'm very interested to see more about that. But so yeah, hello, good to see you.
Hello.
So who was your favorite character to write so far?
I think there are some characters. Oh, that's hard to answer because there are certain ones where I don't end up wanting I know where things are going to go with certain characters and certain struggles or bad things that are going to happen. And there are certain characters that I almost surprised myself where I was like, I don't actually want those things to happen to them, even though they're my characters and I've always known. And I can't really pinpoint specific characters because then that might reveal like, oh, something bad's going to happen to this person.
Right.
But I think there are certain characters that are so different from me. And then there are some characters, all the characters have pieces, I think, of how a lot of people are. But they're all fairly different. I think the character Dietrich is somebody who has had a very difficult life, and he could very easily be the stereotype of like the brooding assassin, but he's actually somebody who is relatively happy and charming and enjoys talking with people, but then he has such a difficult set of circumstances that it's like a constant struggle of trying to maintain that and then trying to almost ignore all the other sides of what he has to do and who he is. Guinevere, I think, is hard to write because I like her as a character, but she's also a little ignorant to things because she's been so sheltered and you're like, it's kind of not your fault, but also it's a little bit your fault. So it's hard to, because there's certain characters you connect with and you relate to as you're writing them. Yeah. And then putting into them their flaws where you as the reader, you're like, well, you kind of have to fight the urge to make your characters perfect. Basically, you have to have those moments where they do things that they probably shouldn't do, but giving them the correct motivations so that you understand why they're doing what they're doing. I was surprised too for the first round when I did beta reads. I was really excited. So many people loved the character Elizabeth, which I was a little nervous that people would be like, Elizabeth's just the quiet character with the obnoxious brothers and she's just nice. I don't know. I was surprised that so many people were like, I love her. And a lot of people really like Zodia. I think a lot of people also find her the most intriguing because she clearly knows a lot of things, but then keeps them to herself. Mm-hmm. And then she's somebody who's arguably the most powerful, and then also the person who wants to use her power the least.
Right.
So, but I don't know if I can pick. I try not to say who my favorite characters are just because I think authors a lot of times when they reveal who their favorites are, then people know who their favorites are and they're like, I can tell this character is their favorite sort of thing. But even though he's a very side character, Garen is probably my favorite character. I love him a lot. Cool. Guinevere's very loyal knight / kind of father figure, even though she has a father. He's very protective of her and very quietly off to the side a lot of times. But yeah, I think I'm also very much a sucker for the characters that have that almost parental bond, you know, like the parent and child bond, even when they're not, because it's like an extension of found family. So I like them. And that Guinevere can be kind of sassy with him, and he can very, very subtly be sassy back, but he also has to be very stoic all the time. Yeah. Did you have a favorite character?
I did. Yeah. Dietrich was actually my favorite character, although I did really like Garen as well. I did like all of the characters, and you mentioned Elizabeth. I really liked her. If I had to pick a second favorite, it was probably, and I'm glad you pronounced her name, because I was pronouncing it Zodia. And you said Zodia? Is that
Zodia? Yeah, but Zodia, anybody's welcome to say any name however they like.
Yeah. So that she was another favorite of mine. So Ariella's right. You're not taking nearly as long as George R. R. Martin. So you got that going for you.
I definitely plan to have the next book. Oh my gosh, so nervous. So I actually had a hiccup with when I released my book, where very quickly I was going to have ARC copies made, but then those were starting to be bought by retailers as the actual book to sell. And I was like, oh no. And I emailed them. I'm like, is there any way I will buy back whatever you've bought? I don't want people purchasing for an ARC, right? And they're like, we can't tell. And I was like, oh no. And so anytime anybody would post a picture, there's something a little different about the cover in the ARCs, and it's not as crisp of an image. And I would email, or I would try to like message people if I saw the photo, like, that's actually an ARC. If you want to return it, that's fine. I'll try to send you another copy. And so that, in a strange way, it made me feel really devastated, because to have so many years put into something and then to have that come up at the end. But it also allowed me to kind of almost not focus on other aspects of being nervous about a release. But yes, I still get nervous. I don't watch people's reviews. I basically never talk about it. This is one of the few times I'm actually talking about it. I've had very nice people ask if I want to come on and talk about it, and I usually say no, because I don't like talking about it. It makes me very nervous. And a big part of it is that I want, most readers don't see their favorite authors, or not even just favorites, just don't see authors that they're reading from as much. So there's a lot of distance between the author and the book, and it makes it very easy to separate, art from artist. Yeah. So when I know I'm online quite frequently talking about books, and as much as possible, I want to make it as easy as possible for readers to separate me from the book by not really attaching myself to it, I guess. So I think that's part of why I get nervous just even seeing it, where I'm like, okay, don't tell me. Don't say anything about it.
I completely understand. I do. That's one reason I don't promote my book too much, is because I want my channel to be about other people's books. So I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally do. But you got some people downloading it, so
that's very nice. If anybody is interested, the first half, which if I'm being very transparent, is a lot of setup and it's not the most exciting. The second half, I'd say, is when things start happening. But the entire first half of the book you can find on my website for free if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
I know how expensive books can be, so I never want anybody to spend money on something they're not interested in. So all my friends are always like, you're very bad at promoting your own book and actually getting book sales. I'm like, but I want people only to get it if they're interested.
Right. I hear you. I get people after me all the time too, telling me, why don't you promote it more? So yeah. So yeah, I get it. Oh, let's see. How did you feel once your first book was out and being read?
It was frightening. There's also an additional element of, there is the, another booktuber who fancies himself an author attitude. And I have been writing stories since I was a little kid. So it wasn't something I just decided I can do this because I've read lots of books. It was something I put a lot of time and effort into, and it is very meaningful to me. I care about it very much. It is I would say it goes beyond just being a hobby into a passion. And so I think part of the nervousness when it was first coming out is just the element of having social media attached to the book, as opposed to just the book existing and then being seen on social media, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always some people want to act as if they have no bias whatsoever, meaning, oh, well, I watch her videos, or I like her, or she's a fellow booktuber, but that's not going to influence me at all. And I think that's very nice, and that's obviously the goal, but I also think that that's impossible. You're either going to want to be nicer to it because you're a nice person and you're kind of like rooting for me, or you're going to try to be more critical because you don't want it to seem like, oh, well, they're my friends, so I'm being I'm not giving it special treatment. So there's also that discomfort of feeling like it's not able to be received purely based off of what's in the book, and that the element of social media and me being on BookTube impacts people's views of it. So that made me a little nervous too. I just never want it's unavoidable. If I could go back and change things, I think I would not have myself attached to it at all and have another pseudonym and then just be like, I read this book and I really liked it, and not really say that it's mine, but also not try to be deceiving. Just be like, this is what this book is and what it entails and the tropes that are in it. And this the same way I would talk about another book. And then if people are curious, they would go into it and they wouldn't even think of me with it. It would feel like a more pure reception. I don't know if any of that really makes sense.
It does. It makes total sense. I get you. And I promise we won't like keep on going on and on about your book, but I did want to talk with you about it and let everybody kind of hear from you about your book. So, and yes, Chadi, I do have a book. I'm just like Elle, I don't really talk about it a whole lot, but
tell people about your book.
This is Talendor's Guest, if we can get it in
without the glare.
There we go, sort of. Okay, there we go. But yeah, that's my book, Talendor's Guest, and so it's on my shelf in the background. I don't promote it a ton. I guess maybe I should. You try to find that balance between I love Brian Lee Durfee's channel, for instance, and he always promotes his books at the beginning of the channel, and that's cool. That I think he should. I just don't do that myself. But yeah, I do have a book. Thank you for asking. Yay, that's very interesting. Kindle version was only 99 cents. Okay, good to know that you got to write. But yeah, it does feel right when you actually get to talk about it, for sure.
I thought I would mention really quick, I was making sure I had the name, A Fictional Escapist. They're great about talking about books that aren't as well known, especially a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, but they also do writing sprints. So if anybody else is a writer and they want to get into it and they want to have that writing community and somebody who kind of helps get the ball rolling, I would definitely check them out, because every time I see them post about their writing sprints, I'm always like, I need to get back to writing. So it's nice to have that encouragement. And they're super lovely and really nice. And they're Australian, so they have a great accent.
No, that's awesome. I'll have to check it out. The Fantasy Escapist?
Fictional Escapist.
Oh, Fictional Escapist. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Let me make sure that.
Have a good day, Chaudia. Thanks.
Let's see. Because I know sometimes. Yep, that's their name on both YouTube and Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. The Fictional Escapist. I'll check it out. In this day and age, authors are on social media. Yep. Very true. Yes, I have a big dragon on my cover. And there's dragons in Elle's book too. So
sure, there's a very sassy dragon. That was also, a lot of people really liked the sassy dragon a lot.
I did. Yep, yeah. I was kind of partial, I have to admit.
She's great. She's fun because I feel like she's just so done with everything all the time, and she just seems like she's sleepy and wants to be left alone.
Yeah, that's very true. So so you and I are both. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
Cam Wolf, that was mentioned.
Oh, Cam Wolf. Okay, cool. Yeah, lots of writing sprints on there. I need to get back to writing too. Maybe that'll help me. So you and I are both Sander fans. So, what do you think about the new Kickstarter? What are you gonna buy in?
The one with the little things?
Yeah, with the figurines and stuff.
No, not for that one. I definitely I didn't get the full boxes, but I definitely am getting the secret projects. I'm really excited about those. And I like that I disagree with this idea that he's changed publishing entirely with the Kickstarter, but I do like that because what he did is not possible for lesser known writers. The reason it was so successful is because it's Brandon Sanderson and he has a lot of success and name recognition already. But I do like that by experimenting and doing different things, I think he is opening doors for other writers and kind of adding legitimacy to different avenues that I think before people might not have taken seriously, which I always appreciate. Anybody who can kind of push the norm to be more open, to have more opportunities, I think that's definitely a good thing. So I like that he's going about this way. And and he also backed all those other Kickstarters that month, which I thought was amazing, all those other fantasy ones. So I'm getting the secret projects, but not the figurines. I don't have enough space for anything like that. I don't have enough space for more books already.
I totally get that. Have a good birthday. Yeah, it's Ariel's birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm kind of torn because I was kind of looking at the different options, and I noticed that he has an option to just to just buy the fuller size figurines, the 4 main figurines. And that's kind of cool. But then I'm like, well, I don't really need it. And apparently they're going to be coming out. He'll probably have those same figurines as part of the Stormlight RPG when it releases. So I don't know. He's already been talking about the RPG. And so it's nice to see pictures of what he imagines them to actually look like. And surprisingly, it was pretty close to what I visioned in my head for most of them, especially Zeth. But I just don't know if I'm gonna buy into this one. I did do the ebooks for the previous Kickstarter. I didn't, but then I got to thinking the other day. I'm like, oh, you know what? It's probably not going to be a fully compatible Kindle file. It's probably just going to be a download that you can sideload to the Kindle. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should have gotten the physical books.
Yeah, I got the physical books and the audio, which it comes with the ebook. There's no option to not have the ebook for a cheaper price because it's a digital file. But I am really excited, and I'm definitely going to be doing some form of a read along for those. I actually was just talking yesterday. I had that live show with Angela, Roger, Jess, and Michael for Second Era Mistborn, and we were talking about how I'm going to try to read through not only secret projects, but a lot of Sanderson's works next year. We were saying, because I want to get a lot of other booktubers to do collaborations and talk through different ones. So if there's a certain one that piques your interest that you want to join in, let me know, because I'm going to try to get as many of my friends to join in as possible that want to.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that would be fun. I haven't read Mistborn Era 2 yet. I'm probably going to start. I'm thinking probably beginning of the year I'll start Mistborn Era 2. But I do want to read it.
It's very different from a lot of other fantasy in that its setting is almost more Industrial Revolution. And aspects of it feel kind of Wild West. And of course, you have the fact that there's guns and how that is tied to the Mistborn magic system. It is a little bit more murder mystery, kind of a fun time, but then there are those emotional moments and there's still interesting themes that are woven into the story. So it has depth. It's just not quite as heavy and gloom and doom as Era 1, which I like Era 1 so much. But I think you would appreciate how unique it feels compared to a lot of other fantasy and how he was able to not only tie in the magic from the first series, but then expand on it and the world building details and the references, because it's 300 years after Era 1, the way that their history, the way they don't exactly know what happened, so they view things a certain way, and certain individuals have become almost religious figures, and the way they name certain streets and areas of the city after characters from the first series is pretty cool.
Okay. Well, that's cool. It's good to know. I've never really been interested in Flintlock at all, but because it's Sanderson, I will read it because I really do like his books. Mistborn wasn't my favorite series of his. Stormlight is by far my favorite, but I'll still read Era 2 and see what I think of it. And um, Jenny says that she's
Oh my
she has
goodness.
some books and haven't read any of them. Yeah. Yeah, and that's like I didn't think of it till just barely, and I jumped on the Kickstarter pretty much right away, but I didn't think about the ebooks till now either. Um, what would you say? And you've done videos on this too, El, but what would you say is a good place that you would recommend to start with Sanderson?
I know a lot of people recommend starting with Mistborn. It depends on the direction you go into the Cosmere, I think, if that's what we're talking about, Cosmere, not necessarily young adult, middle grade, and things like that. But with Cosmere in particular, depends on if you want to go chronologically with when the books were published, if you want to go about the series being able to see the most Cosmere tie-ins, or if you want just ease of the story is a good way to be introduced to Sanderson's writing and whatnot. I think if you just want a standalone, you just want something fun and a taste of Sanderson's writing, then Warbreaker is actually definitely more fun and less of a commitment. Mistborn will give you the fantastic action, but with a lot of depth, and then turning a certain familiar trope on its head with great character arcs. And then if you just want to take the plunge, if you're somebody who's already used to a lot of really big epic fantasy, just go for Stormlight, I think, because it is so good. Depends on also how familiar with the fantasy genre you are and how much you've read. Because I think if you go for Stormlight and you're used to reading what you read when you were a kid, maybe you picked up some of the popular stuff. You picked up like Grisha because that had a show. And so I feel like if you jump right into Stormlight, you're going to think, what's even going on? Am I supposed to know who these people are? What are these Spren things? You know what I mean? It can be kind of a lot to take in. So that wasn't a very good answer because that was basically, it depends.
It was a good answer. I think there's a lot of different avenues to start. Warbreaker was a good recommendation. I personally, a lot of people hate Elantris, but I like Elantris. That's a good standalone as well. But it doesn't have a ton of Cosmere tie-ins until you get further into the Stormlight archive.
Yes, very much. Elantris is it feels a little bit more like classic fantasy. The writing is a little less Sanderson. It doesn't feel like it has his signature feel just yet, since that was his first published book.
Right.
But I think it is good if you, like we were saying, want to start with publication order to go with that one. And it's also good if you're accustomed to the older fantasy or fantasy kind of 90s into early 2000s type of fantasy. That one feels more in line with that, where it feels like Mistborn and Warbreaker and Stormlight are kind of going into a new phase of fantasy, I think. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good way to summarize that. I'm the Stormlight books are definitely chunky. Way of Kings is my least favorite. For many people, it's their most favorite. And it wasn't bad by any means. I loved the Way of Kings. I just Words of Radiance, I think, is my favorite, and then Oathbringer is my second. I still loved Rhythm of War, but
we're pretty opposite, because Way of Kings and Rhythm of War are probably my favorites, and then Words of Radiance has some of the best moments, and then Oathbringer is my least favorite, even though it has a lot about it. It's really good, obviously, but I just found, I know I've mentioned this before, Sean's read up through Oathbringer, and he always jokes that one of the characters just keeps trying to Zoom call people and Skype people to try to convince them to like join them. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. And you see so many scenes of this like trying to have this work meeting basically, and then people are like no, and then they try it again and they're like no, and they keep doing it. They're like, what if I use better technology basically so I can show you my plans and what's going to work? And it's like at some point I'm like, we totally skip over a scene where two characters go and do certain things and are managing certain things, and you don't go with them at all. And I was like, okay, can we go with those characters just a little bit and cut some of this other stuff out? But it depends too, I think, on who your favorite characters are and what you like about Stormlight. I like Kaladin, so the more Kaladin I get, usually the happier I am.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love Kaladin. And I will say, even though Way of Kings was not my favorite Stormlight book, it has one of the best endings of the Stormlight books. Like, I was just blown away by the ending. It's so good.
So good. And I remember one time talking to my mom about it, and she's not a fantasy reader, and I was explaining the end of Way of Kings and why it's so meaningful, and I was getting emotional talking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. Like, because it's just I can't say anything for anybody that hasn't read it. I don't want to spoil it, but the last 200 pages, there's just so much emotion and there's great action, but there's exactly what you want in action scenes where there's a lot of stakes and you're so worried for the characters, but also you don't really know the direction it's going to go. Everything. I just love the end of it. Oathbringer for me got almost too big with its endings. I know a lot of people like the end of Oathbringer because it's the ultimate Sanderlanche, but it was almost so big that we were going from one character to the next so quick that I think it would work really well in a visual format, but I don't know what it was. It was almost like everything was so big, it had a little less of the emotional stakes for me. Rhythm of War, the whole book is a little bit more closed in. So it's now I'm just like basically ranking the ends of Oathbringer or of Cosmere and Stormlight Archive books. That's nobody cares about that. Oh, Sword of Kaigen is emotionally intense fantasy. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. That was one I haven't read yet. Like, I was really on the fence about it. I might at some point, but it's not high on my list.
If you do, I will say you probably have to give it some time because the beginning is kind of strange, and it feels, I mean, aspects of it feel like a CW action superhero.
Oh no.
It's really strange, and you're like, what am I reading? And then once you really get into it and things basically start to fall apart is when you're like, wow, this is not what I thought we were going to get with this. So the middle of that book, I think, is so good that I can be very forgiving of other parts that I didn't love, because there are a few things that I feel like hit the way the middle of that book does.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, look, a lot of people are with you about Oathbringer being there. You like Words of Radiance the most, but
yeah, Andrew loves Oathbringers, and so do I. Thanks a lot, Andrew. Appreciate you. And yes, we both have mad respect for Elle. She's awesome.
Very nice.
My current read got super intense.
Well, what is your current read?
Yeah, what are you currently reading? Oathbringer is my favorite. Okay, yeah, lots of love for Oathbringer for sure. Yeah, and it is. It's a great book. There was just something about Words of Radiance, especially the ending of Words of Radiance. I was like, oh, give me more.
I know.
And the ending of Rhythm of War was great too, although I was kind of bummed about some things. I think you and I have talked about a certain character that I really don't like that is getting a lot more screen time going forward. But the Soul's Aspect by Mark Holloway. Yeah. Andrew does a lot of self-pub on his channel, which I really love. And I want to do more, but it's hard to balance like so many books. But yeah, Andrew promotes a lot of self-pub on his channel, which I think is amazing.
I will have a video up hopefully tomorrow where I talk about 30 different books for fall.
Ooh, hey.
But they're broken up into different categories depending on what you like in the fall. Is it Lift? Is that the character?
No, actually, Lift is hit or miss for me. I liked her. I liked her okay in Edge Dancer, but not the greatest. She was better. I won't say spoilers, but she does show up in another book, and she's much better for me. But no, it.
I like Lift in small doses. I don't really want. Oh my gosh, Alex Nieves is kind of my Cosmere twin in that we both can't stand Lift.
Right.
So much of the fandom loves her, and we're just like, I don't need to hear her talking about. Is it pancakes? It's pancakes, right? I always mix up if it's pancakes or waffles.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. But my least favorite thing of hers is being not cool, something else, being epic.
Awesome.
What's that?
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, being awesome. I'm like, okay, that's so lame. But I mean, it's her thing, so it's whatever. But
I do like her spren though.
Yeah, her spren is cool.
Name, right?
I do like her spren.
Cute. He's like so exasperated, like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. But my least favorite character, at least so far, is Taravangian. I cannot stand him.
That's so interesting. I find Taravangian fascinating as a character. I just think what an interesting I don't want to say too much because it's hard to talk about certain characters in Stormlight, but I find them to be a very interesting character.
Right.
But yeah, I think that might be pretty unpopular to not find Taravangian interesting.
It is. Yeah, I've had a lot of people comment when I did a video on unpopular opinions and stuff like that, and yeah, I got a lot of flack for that. Respectful flack. Nobody out and out attacked me for
That's
it.
good.
But, it's still very unpopular opinion. Okay, fall is going to be Stephen King heavy. That is a heavy fall. Oh my goodness. Lift is okay.
Awesome.
Eleanor has it.
Yes.
Nice.
I do like that moment where her and Rock are next to each other. And aren't they near a food table or something? And they both kind of just look at each other, or is it they're just standing next to each other or something?
Yeah.
And the two of them side by side is amusing. I do like that.
Yeah, that's true. Is he a good guy or bad? I can't say either way. I will say it's still kind of neutral at this point, but I can't go into any more detail without giving spoilers for book 4. And anybody who hasn't read the series at all yet, it would ruin it. So yeah, I can't say any more.
There's definitely an element of you feel a certain way, but then you also wonder, well, maybe what they're doing is for the best, but maybe it's not. There's a lot to them. That's why I like them, because I think they're very layered and interesting, and they're different.
That's a good way to put it. Layered, yes.
Yeah.
Even a character like Wit, who you would assume to be a good guy,
might have his own selfish plans.
Yeah, he's a very neutral character as well in a lot of ways. So yeah. You missed it. We talked Witcher. Well, we didn't really talk Witcher. We talked a little bit about the new editions coming out. So
I just got the new the first of the new covers. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
DNF Stormlight. Blasphemy.
It may have to be my first crack. Okay, yeah. And if you like chunky books, Jenny, they're very chunky. So I think that would fit your style. Absolutely. Oh, you DNF'd it. Well, I can understand why somebody would DNF it, honestly. It's a major undertaking. I mean, you think I would compare it to A Song of Ice and Fire in terms of the amount of investment you have to put into it. It really is a lot of investment time-wise. So
what do you all
know if that's why you DNF'd it, but
what are you all doing to me? Didn't love Rhythm of War. How dare you? Just kidding.
Oh, Andrew, that's it, man. We're done. No, I'm kidding.
I'm leaving. Just kidding. I Rhythm of War is one that I understand, though, why it doesn't work for a lot of people. Because even though the moments that I loved about it ended up making it so that I loved the book overall because I got what I was wanting out of it, I also am frustrated at certain aspects of it. Whereas with something like Oathbringer, the things I loved about it, my frustrations with it ended up kind of going up a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense. We joked earlier that if I get more Kaladin, I'm happy, right? So then I can be more forgiving of the things that frustrate me. And with Rhythm of War, it had that sort of feel where I got the things that I was wanting, but there's so much with the magic that I understand a lot of people get pretty bored with. The flashbacks aren't really as deep as the previous 3 books flashback sequences are. There's a lot to it that make it different. And I think after Oathbringer, which we talked about was so big and explosive, this one is so contained that I can see why it would feel so weird in comparison, or maybe you liked the more openness. There's also just a sense of, it feels like all of a sudden we're supposed to know about all the different kinds of magic. And it's like, I don't know. I couldn't explain all of these different groupings of the magic at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. It's totally okay, man. Love you. You're good. Are you worried about him sticking the landing? Although I've heard he writes great conclusions.
I actually am. I know most. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of trust because he does usually have such great endings. But there's just so much set up, and I'm really nervous and scared about what's going to happen with some of our characters. It just depends on what you're looking for out of the ending of the first 5 books. Anyway, will be the end of a certain arc. But I think he was saying something about it's the one he's the most pleased with. Like he actually is really happy with how the end of that first arc is coming along. So that definitely makes me happy.
Yeah, it does make me happy too. I'm slightly worried, but at the same time, like you said, I have a lot of trust in Sanderson, and it will be interesting to see how it goes because, like Elle said, book 5 is the end of half of the series, and then I think it's going to be like a 10-year time jump. I think
so.
to the other arc. So there's going to be 5 more books, but almost a completely new cast of characters. We'll probably get some of the old characters as well, but they won't be the main focus of the series, I'm guessing. So it'll be interesting to see. He's very ambitious. I'll say that for him. He's very ambitious.
There's just so much to Stormlight that it's hard to know how one more book could wrap everything up in a way that's very satisfying while still leaving things ready for that next arc. But I also was really surprised with some of the things that he did in Rhythm of War. Some plot lines I thought we were going to get, and then he's like, actually, I'm just going to take this in a completely different direction. So at the very least, I think predictions for Stormlight are fun because we often are pretty wrong. So I do enjoy that aspect.
Yes. Yeah. He does have a lot of people guessing, and a lot of times it doesn't work out. Yeah. He writes a lot like, I can see that superheroes like being the way he writes them. I get that totally. Great moments, but the interludes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The interludes are what they are. They're okay. I almost wonder if I'll like the interludes more on a reread where I can focus more attention on those characters. So in hindsight, you view those characters differently because of those interludes in book 4. And then maybe everything will have a little bit more grayness to it. That's one of the great things about Stormlight too, is for me, is the fact that you're like, in a sense, are our heroes actually heroic given what's happened in the past? And when you think about things that have happened in the past, and you start to realize that certain groups of people maybe should have a little bit more than they do.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. Andrew's not a Era 2 fan. Looks like Yolene isn't either. Okay. Loved Era 1.
Era 1.
Yeah, Era 1 was really good. It was solid. Although and again, I won't go into spoilers, but even though I liked the ending of Mistborn Era 1 and it made sense, I was still disappointed.
Ugh, I love it.
Yeah, it made sense and I liked it, but I was hoping for something different. But it's okay. You know,
One of
I get
the things I do like about Era 2, and it's funny because it's less about Era 2 and it's more about Era 1. How far am I in the series as a whole? Ship of Destiny is the next one that I have to read very soon. Aaron has a read along for that, so we'll have a live show hopefully in October on Aaron's channel. Anyway, sorry. With Era 2, one of my favorite things is references to characters and some of the appearances that happen.
Okay.
That I actually really like. But I think Era 2, it's such a, I don't want to call it fan service, but it's definitely some of the hints at the same way we got in Rhythm of War, where you're seeing tie-ins from other Cosmere books. Mm-hmm. Era 2, I think the Lost Metal is going to have a lot set up for other Cosmere things. And so for that alone, I'm excited.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to read it. I'm glad that it's finished now, so that I can read the books all together. For Hob, I've recently become a huge Hob fan. I'm in the middle of Royal Assassin right now, and oh man, I'm having a blast. It's such a great book. I'm absolutely loving Hating on Regal. Oh my goodness, I can't.
Fitz is just so moody and not like, I love Kaladin, but Fitz's level of moodiness is more than I can handle. So Royal Assassin, I was like, oh my gosh, over Fitz. I really liked Ship of Magic a lot. And it's not that it feels like a different author, but she just writes it so differently because it's third person, multiple perspectives. I would say you move around a lot more, so it feels a lot more kind of epic fantasy. Yeah. And then I didn't love Mad Ship, and I was like, dang it, because I'm like, please, I really want to like Ship of Destiny, because currently my thing is that Farseer, I'm like, I appreciate the writing. I'm just like, can we just focus on a different character for a little bit, because Fitz isn't my favorite and you're with him entirely. And then I'm really liking Live Ships in book 1, and then book 2, I'm like, I don't know. So I really hope that book 3 is there. And then a lot of people really don't like Rain Wilds. I think that's the name of that series.
Yeah, that is 10 through 12, I think, right? It comes after book 9, so that would be like the 4th series.
I think that's right, because I think you have another Fitz series after Live Ship, but I don't. Somebody can correct me, please do, if I'm wrong about this. I think to read Rain Wilds, you don't have to read the other Fitz, or am I wrong about that? Can you kind of jump into Rain Wilds? Because I thought Rain Wilds was more connected to Live Ship. Okay. But please, I am not an expert about Realm of Elderlings.
Oh, we need Derry on the stream. Where's Derry? No, hey, I don't know if you've encountered Derry yet. Derry's read it before. She's amazing. So, and she's like a Hob encyclopedia and a Discworld encyclopedia as well. But
I need to read Discworld. I bought from Bookman's. They have a bunch of the little paperbacks, so I'm gonna give them a go. They're so inexpensive. I think it was like $3.50 for one of them. So if I do end up liking them a lot, those editions, I forget what they are called, but have you seen those really pretty hardback editions?
I have.
They're so pretty. So if I like that series, I figured I'd start with the, really inexpensive ones from Bookman's that cost next to nothing. But I think I'll like Discworld. It sounds very bizarre and a little nonsensical, but also hitting on some important themes in a very abstract, funny way. So I am excited for it.
Yeah, it's good. It's been a little bit hit or miss for me. Some I've liked, some I haven't, but there's some real gems. Like the Hogfather especially is fantastic. It's the Discworld version of Santa Claus. That's a must read. That one. And Guards is fantastic. So yeah,
I might have gotten Guards. I'll have to check again.
Guards is a good place to start with Discworld, in my opinion. I think Alan says the same. Okay, she's reading Rain Wilds. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I'm looking forward to it. Oh yeah. Yep. He continues to be more and more of a dick for sure.
So I don't always have the same exact taste as Erin from Booked and Busy, but she just read, I think, all of the Rain Wilds, and on Instagram put her star ratings for all 4 of them, because I believe there's 4. And they ranged from 1 to 3 stars, I think. She didn't like any of them very much. So that was kind of a surprise. And I'm like, I mean, I have heard that they feel more angsty, and sort of people have said they feel more young adult, but I'll have to find out for myself, because the way that some of the younger characters in Live Ship behave, sometimes it's so angsty and obnoxious that I'm like, it's less angsty in certain YA books than this. This is almost unbearable. So if you get a lot of that in Rain Wilds, I could see being really frustrated. But I'm still excited. I actually found 3 of the 4 at Bookman's. For anybody that doesn't know, we both live in the same area, and so we both sometimes we go hang out at Bookman's together. But they have
Elliot and I are practically neighbors. We live about 10 minutes away from each other, and yeah, so she and Sean have become really awesome friends and really enjoy hanging out with you. So we need to do another board game night.
No, I was gonna say, we sent you that picture of Aeon's End, and It was so funny because Sean's parents had come up and we're like, let's play Aeon's End. And his dad, who plays a lot of board games, he loves the game Dominion that we played.
Mm-hmm.
He was so angry at Aeon's End because he's like, this isn't even fun. Like, it's just the fact that you can't win hardly ever. It's just like, we didn't win the entire time that we were playing that game. We played a lot that day. He was so mad at it. And I'm like, but I mean, you just gotta, you gotta try. You just gotta keep trying. And he was like so angry at it. It was really funny. It is a challenging game. If anyone's played that game, you almost keep questioning, am I playing this right? Because I cannot win. And then it's kind of like the Elden Ring of board games. You just gotta go. When you finally win, it's very satisfying.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I remember you mentioning it and sending me the info for it, and I definitely want to try it sometime. Might have to try it at your house sometime before I go all in and decide if I want to purchase it. We did end up purchasing Dominion, though.
Dominion's so fun.
We got the Dominion big box, but our big box came with a different expansion, I think, than yours did. So
I don't know if they even sell our starting box that has the 2. It has Alchemy and Prosperity, I think, and I don't know if they sell that combination anymore. This is probably, for anybody that's not into board games, probably very boring. We like Dominion a lot. Sean and I have played a fair amount of Magic the Gathering, which is a lot of fun, but we've not had the chance to play it with a lot of other people. So that game is a lot of fun, but very easy to get mad at each other, because sometimes when you're playing really well and then somebody plays a card that you can kind of offset whatever the other person just did, you're like, dang it, and you get really angry. So Magic the Gathering's fun. We like Aeon's End quite a bit. We also, though, like the occasional silly party game. Like sometimes Sean and I will just play like Catchphrase or the Heads Up or Categories is fun. Okay, Categories was so fun with some of the answers when we were playing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We had some real funny ones.
Yes, everybody was very, very creative.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my favorite board game, I've got so many, but for sure Splendor. I think I talked with you about that one. Splendor for sure, Forbidden Island, Unspeakable Words. So, yeah, there's so many. I got the Marvel Splendor, and I still haven't played the Marvel version of Splendor, but it's got a unique MCU twist to it. So
Is that the one you got at Bookman's?
No, that was the no, not Stormlight Archive. That was the
There's that Name of the Wind one.
Name of the Wind one. Yeah, that's what I got at Bookman's. Yeah. But it's the Call to Adventure.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize I need the original box in order to play that. Whereas the Stormlight Archive version is a complete standalone. So probably should have gotten that one. But
a lot of Splendor love.
Oh yeah, that one gets to the table a lot here. Cool. Oh, awesome. Love to hear it. Splendors is great. Categories is fun. Yeah. Seven Wonders. I've heard of that one. I have not played it yet though. I've wanted to. There's also a new 2-player one called Seven Wonders Duel that I've heard is a lot of fun.
That's the downside, is it's hard to find really good strategy 2-player games.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Aeon's End is fun for us, because it's challenging and it is a little bit more, it's not necessarily a party game, but you can play it with just 2 people. You can actually, I think, play it alone also. But I'm like, I don't know if I have ever gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm going to play this game by myself.
Right, yeah. A lot of board game. His favorite is Terraforming Mars. So, okay, I have played Terraforming Mars. You almost need to take a vacation day to play that one. It's like Monopoly. It's going to easily take you 4 or 5 hours. But it's fun. Clue, yeah, Clue is awesome. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Duel is also good. 2 players game. I've heard Jaipur is good. Yeah.
Played that one.
Yeah, I haven't played that one either. So yeah, lots of fun games out there. We could easily talk all day about board games, and
one of these days we'll play Mistborn House War.
Oh yeah, I do want to play that one. It's got an interesting concept for sure. So one of these days I do want to play that one. It was one that I was thinking about getting, but then I'm like, well, I know Danielle has it, so maybe I'll wait and play it with her and Sean before I end up getting it for myself.
Ooh, Mistborn House War is a cooperative and competitive game. So the idea is you're actually all from noble houses and you're trying to stop the final empire from collapsing, and you want to gain favor with the Lord Ruler. So you make like trades with your fellow players, and sometimes you're like, I'll trade you for this stuff to get this stuff, and then sometimes you have cards that let you go back on deals. But you either win by having the most favor with the Lord Ruler, or if the rebellion succeeds and the final empire collapses, then the person with the least favor with the Lord Ruler wins. So you have to kind of decide as you're playing. You're kind of trying to trick your teammates. You either are continuing to try to keep the final empire from collapsing, or you want it to collapse, but you can't really let them know what you're trying to do. So you're allying with them, and then sometimes you're also stabbing them in the back. It's very fun, and it's very ridiculous.
Yeah.
The art is really great. The artwork for that game is fantastic. And the Stormlight Archive one for Call to Adventure, that artwork is great too. Yeah. So that's fun with those games.
That's cool. Yeah, I definitely want to play it at some point. It does sound amazing. Yeah, and complex. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like one of those games that there's kind of a learning curve to it for sure. So
it's not as like a lot of board games when you're first starting, you got to check the rules and everything. But there's very much a feeling of whatever goes with the deals that you make with somebody, because it encourages in the directions. It encourages you to make deals like, if you give me that ATM, I will do laundry for a week. Like it encourages you to do ridiculous deals outside of the game. And that's another layer to it. You don't have to play that way, but I think that it sounds like it'd be a lot, but once you get the hang of it, it's really just a like, draw this card, react to this card, draw the next card, react to that card, sort of a setup.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's cool.
It's fun. It was fun. I haven't played it enough though, because you need a few people to play it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can be a few more people added to that. Well, I know we're coming up on an hour and a half, and I talked with Elliot at the beginning that I want to be respectful of her time, and especially for Luna Bear because she's been in another room with
Yes,
Sean,
with
so
Sean.
Sean's
They
probably
walked
ready for a
away.
break as well. If any of you are wondering, Luna Bear is just as precious in person as she is on video. So
So cute.
so yeah, she's a great dog, but I know we're kind of getting to that time where Sean's probably, oh man, are they done yet?
Probably more Luna than
More
anything.
Luna,
I'm
yeah,
sure as soon as I open the door, she'll run out.
right, yeah, that's cool. And oh yeah, Jenny says hi, Luna. Yeah,
She's the
Luna,
best.
yeah, Luna's an awesome dog. How old is Luna now?
She'll be 4
Okay.
in October. So we were joking that in October we're going up to Flagstaff, and it's kind of partially because it'll be 10 years together for Sean and I. September this month was 7 years married, and next month is 10 years together. And so we're going up to Flagstaff, and Luna gets to come too because this cabin lets you bring dogs. And we've joked that it's mostly Luna's birthday present. It's a little bit for our anniversary, but it's for Luna's birthday.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, cool. And congrats on being together 10 years. That's awesome too.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. And 7 years married. Yeah. Lots of congrats all around. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me on the stream. And
For having me.
yeah, you're welcome. I was very excited to make this happen. And and a
Aw,
lot of people, like I said, a lot of people already knew you and they followed you for a long time, but you're a good friend, and I wanted to have you on Chas and Friends, so I'm
thank
glad we can
you.
make this happen.
Yeah. We'll have to
Um,
go to the bookstore again sometime. We'll have to play some board games again sometime.
yes, absolutely.
Get you on World Hoppers.
Mhm.
I already have kind of sort of an outline of the videos through the end of the year, but I
Okay.
feel like, well, at some point, I'm hoping that somebody will want to do a video for Sandman. Have you I forget. Did you end up watching that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I
Maybe
mean,
next year sometime there could be a Sandman. We haven't watched any of it, but I know a lot of
okay.
other people on BookTube have been watching. You're so
Oh,
excited.
I'm a huge Sandman nut. I really am. So I would love to be a part of that. Yeah.
Okay,
I,
I'll try to put something together for that.
if any of you are not aware, Elliot has a separate channel, kind of a philanthropic channel where called World Hoppers, where they get together and talk about different topics, and they donate any money from the channel to charities and things like that. So it's a really awesome cause to be a part of, and I've watched several of the streams and I've really enjoyed them. So um, I really love the concept. So
Well, thanks.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for making Sunday night less
Yeah,
boring.
it's
Yay!
late for a lot of you. It's only 11:30 a.m. here.
The excitement is real. Yeah, that's true. It's early in the morning for us. Thank you. Um, so I'd love to come on World Hoppers too, though. That would be awesome. So, but we'll definitely get together. I'll bring over Castles of Mad King Ludwig for our next game night. Maybe it's fun
Okay.
and it's not really that complicated, so it'll be an easy to pick up. So.
Okay,
Oh
cool.
wow, it's definitely later for you in World Hoppers.
Oh, yay.
Yes. Yeah, I that yeah, the merch is really cool for World Hoppers. I love it.
Wally, the world hopping narwhal.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the channel, and thank you to everybody who joined the stream. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your Sunday.
Yeah.
Until next time, read more books.
Yeah.